Grab a cup of tea or listen as you go, ladies. This is your hour with Dr. Zoe, your life and relationship coach. With encouragement, on-point insight, inspiring guests, health tips, and advice, Dr. Zoe helps busy women keep their mind in the game by redefining your superwoman. You're listening to The Dr. Zoe Show.
Welcome to the Dr. Zoe Show, Redefining Your Superwoman. I'm your host, Dr. Zoe. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with a doctorate in clinical psychology. I'm a life and relationship coach and a motivational speaker, and I can work with you virtually to help you get unstuck. My passion is helping women find their superpower, learn to embrace it, and share it with the world. Connect with me by texting the word JOIN to 38470 or go to my website at drzoeshaw.com. The topic today is transforming your shame into purpose, and I'm super excited about this one today. So my Superwoman win is that the Tooth Fairy showed up again the first time, the right night. She didn't forget. She is on a roll and I feel so good. And all of this is super good because Siggy's teeth seem to be falling out right and left. I don't remember this with my older kids. It's like, darn, are you going to have any teeth left in there, girl? But she's having fun losing all her teeth. And it just makes me think, what in the world would our world be like if toothless adults looked anything as cute as toothless 6-year-olds? Too bad it doesn't work that way. As I say, as I've been told, youth is wasted on the young, right? So my fail. I almost took out my housekeeper's car, which would have been just absolutely horrible. We had a lot of rain and our courtyard it flooded. And so I had her park behind the garage instead of in front of the house like she always parks. And she parked backwards and I was leaving and my car tells me all this stuff and it beeps if I'm getting ready to hit something. But whenever I'm backing out of the garage, it always beeps because I'm in a close quarters. And so I ignore it. So of course my car is going beep, 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 letting me know I'm getting ready to hit her car. And I don't know if my car stopped it or I felt that I hit her outside mirror. But I immediately stopped and my son was in the car. I was like, did I hit her car? Did I hit her car? Because looking back, it looked like my car was all the way into her car. But it turned out that thank God she parked backwards because I was kind of coming out of my garage kind of fast because I'm pretty confident pulling out of my garage. Not so smart. But because she parked backwards, my car just hit her mirror and her mirror folded in. And so it didn't do any damage to her car and I didn't hit her car. I was probably like a half an inch from demolishing the whole side of her car. But instead it did put a scratch on my car, but it did no damage to hers. So yay, remember, be thankful all the time. And I'm definitely thankful for that. I did not destroy her car, which would have been really bad. So our topic today, well, first, this is the last show of 2018. I think this is a perfect ending to 2018, talking about transforming your shame into purpose, which can be a great goal for anybody who is dealing with any kind of shame or anything in their past that, they're having a little bit of a hard time getting over. So yes, this is the last show for 2018. I will be coming back, taking a couple weeks off and coming back January 8th with our shows for the new year. So I wish all of you guys a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and New Year. So today I'm having Diana Patton on my show. I wanted her on my show because she is the embodiment of a strong woman who didn't let life circumstances squash her light. Her light still shines so brightly. And I don't know if it's because of, her journey or just that light always shone for her, but I'm kind of low-key obsessed with this woman. So listen up as she shares her story and she shares how she transformed her shame into purpose. I barely even spoke during this interview because I'm just like, I just want to listen to you. I hope you guys have the same feeling. I'm sure that her energy and her authenticity really comes through. Transforming your shame into purpose. Diana, I am so excited to have you on the show today. I have taken a deep dive into you, and you beyond impress me, but you really inspire me. And that's why I wanted to share you with my audience today.
I feel blessed to be here. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. So, you've been described as a motivational speaker. Of course, you're an attorney and you're an advocate for humanity. You've committed your life to helping those in need, specifically young women and youth. And your unique background, which we are going to get into, has really helped you form a life of protecting other people from infringement, which I think is just amazingly inspirational. So that's why I want you on my show. And ladies and some gentlemen, you guys are going to hear about what an amazing woman she is. So before we get started, can you please share your Superwoman win and your Superwoman fail with my audience?
I would say I'd like to begin with fail. I just like to go for the jugular. I think my fail was when I had that argument with my brother before he committed suicide.
Mm-hmm.
It always gets me choked up. Wow, we're starting with it, aren't we?
We are.
It just really is something that I have forgiven myself for, but it has changed the trajectory of my life. And the argument was really based in my own pride. And I never got to see my brother again. He took his life that next day. So that was my fail that I am now making right, which leads everything that I do. My biggest win has been in marrying my husband and really understanding he was the one who took my brother in when he tried to kill my mom. But I didn't want to go with him because he was white.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bigot. I was against interracial marriages, even though I had a white father, but that's where the healing comes in, right?
Of course. And probably also where that underlying feeling of being against it came from. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really was so grateful. And I was grateful when I married him, but now 21 years later, I am like, oh my gosh, I'm like really love him. And he loves me just for who I am. And I didn't love myself, but he loved me. And that's been a blessing.
That is a blessing. That is the biggest gift. And I actually did a podcast last week about the fact that relationships can't make you happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the goal of relationships is growth, healing, and partnership. And happiness can definitely be a byproduct of that when you have that in a healthy way.
I'm with you. Because he did not make me whole or complete me. I had to work on that myself. He just held space for me to do it.
Exactly. Right.
And that's where love comes in. Because love does not force itself upon you or do what you want to do. Love is just like, I'm going to go over here and I'll be over here. And because I was not a fun person to be around. I'm just going to be, I was not. I really had some ugly ways, but thankfully he saw the good in me.
Mm-hmm. And you had those three things that I talked about. And so now you're experiencing the byproduct of all of that growth, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing both of those. And that was a quick step in. And I know some of your history because I've read your book and I've listened to you speak, but I know listeners are like, what is she talking about?
Let me rewind that.
Right.
Exactly.
So we will start a little bit from the beginning. And what I really want to talk today is about how we can take our shame, our history, some things that we aren't proud of in our lives. Melissa May Moan, who's a wonderful author, she talks about gathering dandelions and making bouquets. I love that metaphor.
Did you talk about her before? I've read a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, she was on one of my podcasts.
Yes.
And you know what? She has a brand new book coming out called Midnight.
Ooh.
And it is excellent. And I actually wrote an endorsement for it. I'm so excited for it to come out. And she really talks about really her shame and her depression and her struggle with depression and how she has utilized that and how others can utilize that in their lives for good, finding those beautiful flowers and bouquets out of that. So I want to talk about your story and how you have done this transformation and this work into taking a lot of pain, a lot of sorrow, a lot of difficulty, abuse, trauma, and you are a light. You are an amazing light. And so, how did you do that? Because there are so many women out there who have had difficult times in their lives, who have had even atrocities and can't quite figure out how to use that. So, can we talk a little bit about that and share? I know, listen, you guys, you need to check out her book. It's called Inspiration in My Shoes, and you can hear the whole story. You can't share the whole story, but maybe give us just a little bit of a backdrop for us.
Well, I believe my wholehearted, the light, everything you see is God in action.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just read the word of God. It really does manifest in my soul. And I believe the words. And my husband said, "You actually believe the words? You actually believe that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's either that or a bottle of vodka." So I'm going with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel that is the center of who I am. And it really then turned into a daily practice. So there is a lot of work that has to be done when you come from trauma.
Yes.
Because, as the studies show on brain research, the first 7 years of your life are really kind of it's a blueprint of how most people live their lives. They don't live their lives. Their lives are being lived for them because they just manifest whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe for me, I had an advantage. The first advantage was I had 5 older sisters. So I was really an observer. I watched how all my sisters did everything. And we're not talking like distant sisters. I have 5 sisters in a 10-year period. So we're like really, but I was always the youngest one. So I got to observe a lot, but I also was that youngest child syndrome. I'm doing it my own way.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe I had a fighter spirit. I believe that when I pushed my father away, when he tried to molest me, I don't think I've ever heard of a 14-year-old that's done that. And if they have, I hope they share their story one day. Because those are individuals, I believe that I've had something within me. This is the old gospel song. Something within me I cannot explain was what I can only attribute to God saying that I am calling you out of this. You have to work on doing it. So I believe that for whatever it is was in me, there's a little tinge of that, of a justice button that kind of lifts at the back of my neck. Now, don't get me wrong. I wrote in my book, I wanted to die that night. Like I didn't want to wake up the following morning. And to people, because I don't want people to think I'm some superwoman. I mean, I literally did not want to wake up the next day. But I did. And I'm grateful that I did. But it was a lot of work to be done. The other thing I find, there's 3 things actually. The first one was that, because I really believe that I used running as a way to help me heal. And a lot of people will talk about that. There's a lot of science behind that. That's the reason why Forrest Gump was running, trying to get Jenny.
Absolutely, yes.
So the running for me became a healing thing.
I'm going to stop you right there before we go on, because what you said is you talked about that little voice, that little part of you that said, I know there's something better, right? Everybody has that voice. No matter how teeny weeny it is, it's there. And I think you were able to take it and grow it. And I think that might be something that I think everybody needs to hear, is that that voice is there and you need to take it, even though it's super small and it might be super scary, and you need to magnify it.
I believe that's so true, because with my sisters, I feel they became somewhat muddled and tired. I explain it I think you're right. Everybody has it, but they get tired and they get worn out and they feel defeated and they lose hope.
Right.
And so I believe in me was this, I am not allowing my sisters and I to have to go through this no more. And I think it's because I saw all of that and I said, no more, and for me, but then also for my sisters. And I knew they were all going to leave me too, because they were all getting out of the house.
Right.
Left by myself.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So, and my mom was there, but so here it takes to the other component was I saw my mom change from that young mom who was drinking, smoking, doing all kinds of stuff to the practice that I do today. She would wake up before she got ready to go to work. She worked double, triple shifts, at a plant. She would wake up early and she would read her Bible. She would pray. She would journal. She would have what I call quiet conversations with God. And I describe in my book hearing this crinkling paper of my mom turning the pages of her Bible and getting up, because I went to the bathroom and then I just, slouched down and I sat there as I heard my mom praying and crying. My mom had a lot of sorrow because my oldest sister ran away. So I just remember my heart just wanting to help and protect her. And so those are the elements that make up the path that I knew that I was on. And I knew that I had a lot of work to do. I just knew I had a lot of work to do. And I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I didn't see anything around me evident of anything attorney except for LA law on television.
Wow. But you knew.
Yeah, I knew that I was supposed to be an advocate for people. And I am telling you, I have this spirit in me that is for people who, anything I see anyone taking advantage of someone, there's just something in me that you can ask my kids, you can ask my husband, they all say, oh gosh, please don't do that to that person. My mom is going to see it and she's going to
say something and embarrass us. Yes.
So I just feel like it's how I walk. It's how I live my life. I've had this since I was a child, to all the way being an adult. Now I just happen to have a license to practice law, but that doesn't mean much at all because I had to really work on not being angry, not being bitter, not being some self-righteous person, because I did kind of start to gravitate towards that.
Sure. Of course.
That just, hate can't drown out hate. Only love can do that.
So what I hear, number one, is that still small voice that you have to listen to. And then number two, you've said it a couple times and I want to reiterate it for my listeners, is you have to do the work. And work. And it really applies to everyone. I talk about this before, and I have talked about it, how important it is to invest in yourself. We as women often invest in everything else but ourselves. And the reality is we all have something that we have to get over in life. We all have something. It's different for everybody, and you have to put the work in. You cannot say, I'm okay. It doesn't matter. I've gotten over it if you haven't really walked through it.
That's right, girl. Oh my gosh, it's so true. I say that all the time until I faced, because honestly, I really kept dancing around it.
So let's talk a little bit about that shame. So you grew up in this life of secrets and abuse and trauma, and now you are in this professional field, right? And you talked about dancing around it. Can you talk about what place your history played in that period of your life?
Well, when I was in law school, I write in my book about getting that knock on the door when I was in class. I was in contract class, and that lady knocked on the door, and that was when I found out that my brother tried to kill my mom. And it was like this movie because I'd been doing such a great job of pretending and acting like everything was great.
Yes.
That was my first awakening. But really, after my brother took his life, 10 months later after that incident, he moved in with us. And then 10 months later, he took his life. That was devastating. But I really didn't face it still. I think I was like, I'm a mess. You know what I mean? Because I was working of just being this, hi, I'm Diana, and I'm an attorney, and look at me, and I got my nails done. I got all these shoes, I got all these clothes and all this stuff. And it was just such a void. I was getting jobs and getting promoted. And I mean, I had global purchasing director job at this Fortune 500 company, first African-American woman to like be in this big organization, tons of cash. And the bottle of vodka came. And then it's like, David said to me when I came home with a Grey Goose vodka, a bottle of it, which is completely not me. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, it's cheaper, when you have it at home, because if you go out, it's much more expensive. And he's looking at me, he goes, huh. And that little moment, was like, Diana, what are you doing? And I remember being in the living room. Oh my gosh, I'm getting a teary-eyed.
It's okay.
I just remember being in the living room that night. It was 1:00 in the morning, and I just asked God to help me. And this is like post kids. And I said, God, I'm a mess. What is going on with me? I bought into the lie that I could be this big superwoman, right? Look like this, perfect person. And I didn't go to law school to do this. This is not why I went to school. So I just asked God to take away everything that was not of him and to make me into the person that I know he's designed me to be. And that meant I had to shed a lot of stuff. And I shed that job. I came home. My husband's like, you quit? That almost caused our divorce.
Wow.
But I knew I had to let go of that job and start all over. And then I went to my next job because I thought, what are you doing? I think this happens to women or anybody really. You're like, wait a minute.
Hold on. Yes.
And I went straight back to the same crap.
Yes.
Different place. But I had a guy who asked me, and I wrote about this in my book, Steve Kroll. He was the chief legal officer. He asked me to run the United Way campaign. And I was only there for 8 months. And he said, Diana, we have a real life story. We want to share real life stories. Can you share your story? And of course, I'm like,
did he know your story?
No.
Oh my goodness.
what do you want to know? Because I still hadn't shared me.
Yes.
What specifically, what do you want to know? Because I think when you're in hiding, you get skeptical of people. You don't trust people. You wonder what's their hidden agenda. He goes, I just want to know your story.
Right.
And that began the change. I told him my story. I wrote about it in my book. I was like shaking. Oh my gosh, my armpits were so wet and my hands, it was like, I was just, so I shared my story. I said, can you wait a second? I went to the bathroom and then I came back and then I thought for sure I was going to be fired or he's going to say something. I just had all these things in my head. He goes, Diana, that's one of the most amazing stories. And I'm like, really? So from there, I got Health Magazine of the Year. I wrote about it in Health Magazine, and that's started my book. I started writing my book. Everything changed from there, and I've been working ever since.
And so you were fearful that if they knew your story, your shame, that they, whoever quote they are, would denounce you, not want to be, whatever it is. You were fearful of that. But the reality is that our stories actually connect us as humans. It is when you look like that perfect person,
right,
that people actually don't connect with you because they know that they're not perfect.
Right.
But yet there is this thing about us as humans that feels that we are the only ones and that other people won't understand. And we do have that need to hide, but that is a burden that is too great to carry. And everybody needs to figure out a way to take that story and use it to help others. In whatever way, I don't care if you're baking cakes, if you're raising children, or, if you're a speaker up on the stage.
Yeah.
There are people that can be influenced. Yes.
100%. It ties into everything I do because I am not impressed. Appreciate and respect your PhD, your dissertation, your 16 books, your, 17 research studies. As I feel like I deal with a lot of professionals that haven't reconciled themselves. with who they are. They're living that lie or that life. And I can see reflections of myself in that. You can always tell the patterns of people who haven't done that work. And I'm a little bit more sensory. I think from the trauma I've been through, I sense things differently. And then, I don't know. I just feel I know there's some work that needs to be done. Not judgmental, but I do know that there's work to be done. And it is a lot of work. It's not easy every day trying to override the programs that you've built and the rules that you've built, which cause you to not propel. And a lot of people aren't willing to face that every day.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think one of the biggest aspects of getting over it is being willing to evaluate yourself and look at yourself and say, why do I feel that way? Why do I believe that? Why do I react and respond in this way? Because so many times we go about life just reacting and we don't even understand why we do. We don't know ourselves. And what you said about how difficult that work is, I can relate to it because I am myself on that same journey. And as I'm writing my memoir, there have been times when I've literally been hit to the floor, with some of the things that I'm writing and talking about. And it is difficult, but the release and the freedom is amazing.
Truly.
And it's not just amazing for you, but it's amazing for what you're meant to do in the world. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I work with a lot of young girls. And so, first of all, everyone needs to remember what it was like to be a young person. I just wanted someone to see me for who I was and really to help me, but don't fix me. I didn't want people trying to fix my life. I just wanted someone to, like David did for me, which is hold space for me, listen to me, and to not be this overbearing person who acts like you know so much because you have a degree, which I believe a lot of people do. They talk to young people in a manner that is very disrespectful. I wouldn't want anyone talking to me that way. So I always try to relate to them as just a regular person. A lot of times, a lot of the girls that I talk to, they don't even know I'm an attorney and all that other stuff until we've developed a relationship. And then they go, "You attorney? Where'd you get your law degree at?" As if I'm not some real attorney. I'm like, right. Oh, you built programs in your mind as to what a lawyer is supposed to look like, act like, speak like. And I'm here to let you know, not every lawyer is created equal. We all are all different. And you get to be you with a law degree. It's beautiful because I always thought I had to change who I was. And I have a picture of myself on my Instagram profile of what I look like, trying to fit the mold. But there's a little bit of assimilation, but not complete assimilation. But I just don't agree with this whole idea of, I'm working with young girls. They need to see the real you to believe you. A lot of the girls I deal with trauma. So they're less trusting of people because people have come in their lives and left. And I know that feeling. I want you not to be so put together. You got to relate to these girls because it was so hard finding professional women, especially African-American women, which is where I tend to relate, to a lot, is getting us to, help our young sisters to really know who they are without judging them. I think it starts with building in margin or time with yourself. Like if you have to be to work at 8:00 in the morning time, and a lot of people are so against, some people are just not morning people, but it's really hard, especially if you have, I think any job is challenging, but building in some time for you to journal, read, pray.
Focus on yourself. Yes.
You have to have time and you need to come face to face with that.
Well, no, you have to make time because you will never have the time, right?
You won't, and because people have, how do you have time to do yoga? Because I'm a yogi. I used to run a lot. That's, I just gave up my shoes 2 years ago because I had a labrum tear in my hip. And so I had to find something else to engage my mind. And so, I feel like you have to have a practice.
Yes.
You cannot do this life without a daily practice. So some folks might work out in the morning time. What my practice is yoga. I'm a 5:30 a.m. yoga person, and it sounds crazy.
It doesn't.
That is what keeps my mind sane. It's quiet. It's deep meditation, a lot of mindfulness. And so I get to come face to face with everything that's going on, my thoughts and everything. So I feel you have to have a daily practice. That is the biggest piece of advice. Whether you are a religious person or not, you are a spiritual being. And so you need to understand what the word being means after the word human so that you can be a better human.
I'm so glad that you said that, because even sometimes I struggle, and I believe that, and I am on top of my daily practice. I am on top of my time with myself and my workouts, because I know, and I've told people, this is my therapy.
Yes, that's therapy.
It is.
That's
this
right.
is my therapy. And I've had some people say, oh, well, you have time to do that, but you don't have time for this, as if I should be taking from that.
That's crazy.
It is. It is. So I'm so glad you said that. And I hope that women hear that, because we do have that sense of, well, it's selfish if I take that hour to go to the gym, or if I take that hour to whatever it is, yoga or any space for myself, I feel selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that you said that, because women need to hear that.
It's unwise not to build in space for yourself. Wisdom says, I need space. I need time. The biggest, most influential people in history have all shown the importance of that.
Yes.
I believe that, unfortunately, people have bought into the lie. They don't need that. That's my first piece of advice. And my second piece is to speak words that bring life. I am a person that was taught by my mom to speak life.
Mm-hmm.
I speak in the absolute and the affirmative. I will, I am. And not, I don't know, we'll see, we'll hope. I believe that if this is for me, it's going to happen. And I also believe that I proclaim and I speak what will be, and I write it down and I move in that direction.
Yes.
I lean into that direction. So speak life. Use words like I am. And I proclaimed when I flunked the bar exam the first time, I am going to pass the second time. I wrote down my score and I worked my way backwards. And I said, okay, so this is the score I want to achieve. This is the time I have to do it. This is what I'm going to do. And it was different than the first time, because insanity says, do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. So I obviously had to change some things to pass the bar. So a lot of people need to speak that into existence, and they have to do the work that's going to be reflective of that, what you say that you're doing.
Yes.
Then you are insane if you're not doing the work that's going to lead towards that. So I think those are my two pieces of advice. Build in margin and develop a daily practice. Speak words that bring life and lean into those life-giving words.
That is beautiful. And consistency,
yes,
will give you those results, because sometimes people are like, well, I did that for a month and it didn't work.
Yeah, people give up way too soon.
Yes.
It's perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really, because how to do that? I just stuck with it.
One step in front of the other, over and over. Yes.
Whether you got to cry your way through it, whether you need a good friend that you can call upon, but you can't rely upon that friend all the time. That's one chapter that says commitment just does. There's no cheerleaders who's going to be coming beside your bed and saying, go, 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 go. You might need to hire a coach. You might need to hire somebody to help you, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
You might not hire a therapist, hire people to help you, but don't give up. Don't give up. And people give up way too soon. And then you do need to pay attention to, maybe it might not be right now, but, could be that, because people of faith, you're saying, well, when do you know when you're supposed to just say not right now? Well, you will know that, and only you will know if you're praying and you're doing the right things, but you still need to lean in towards that action.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your words. I feel like I just need to say amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yes. Is there another book on the horizon for you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I have a book that is done. It's a yoga book actually. And I'm just trying to figure the title out. It's a daily journal. It's 50 days. I titled it 50 Days of 50 Years because I turned 50 and I wanted to share about this practice of yoga. And I have a wisdom that goes with it. And then there's a little journaling component to it for women. So that's coming out. But I guess the other book that I really want to do is something in the area for educators to be people that are, not just teaching science, but building a relationship. And so that's the other piece that I'm trying to work on. But the most immediate one is the yoga book. So that's got to get done. And I was holding on to it because I was kind of like, now, did I just do that because I was trying to be fancy because I turned 50? Or am I doing this? You got to make sure that I'm doing it for the right reason. It does go along with the work that I do.
It does. And it sounds like it's reflective of where you are in this season right now. So
Absolutely.
Beautiful. And what you said when you're talking about educators and, the PhDs and the work that they're doing, you're so right, because I always think, and I talk to my clients, especially when I'm talking to parents and teachers, is that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And you have to come with that care.
Right.
Yes.
And young people they're just smart.
They are.
We don't give them enough credit. And I'm so grateful that the young people today, based upon all of the issues going on in schools, they are rising up and saying, we deserve more. We deserve better. And we need to listen to that. I believe that we can do better in schools, and I am going to be a part of that solution. And I'm so grateful to be doing it. It is a lot of work, but I'm grateful to be a part of that solution.
That is awesome. Okay, well, we are going to hop off. I have to get going, but I could talk to you all day long.
I could talk to you. I want to learn more about you.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to do that. And we'll have to have you back on when you get the next book out. We'll talk about that. And I'm sure we're going to chat some more. I am so thankful to have found you.
Thank you.
I hope you guys got some good nuggets from our conversation with Diana Patton today. I really look forward to having her back and all of us gleaming more from her personal triumphs and her books that she has coming out in the future. Next up is Real Talk. This is Real Talk, where I answer questions from my listeners and share my own musings and encouragement. Please reach out if you have some questions you would like me to address on the show. All questions are anonymous. I take your confidentiality seriously as if you were my own client. You can email questions to me at zoe@drzoeshaw.com or connect with me on any of my social medias. This question was curated from my column at thegritandgraceproject.org. The question is there such a thing as being over-emotional? I hear this all the time by family members, and I cry when I'm happy, anxious, scared, or angry. I don't have any explanation for why this is the emotion that I'm most prone to. Dr. Zoe, can you explain this? Well, let me give it a good try. We're all born with a temperament that is basically just built into our DNA. What happens is our temperament that we're born with, not changeable, it interacts with our environment, and that solidifies a personality over the course of 3 to 4 years of our life. So we're not born with personality, we're born with temperament, but that temperament, our personality comes from that when you mix that with our environment. So some people do seem a little more sensitive than others, and this is probably just really a temperament thing. I'd be less worried about what others say and more concerned about how you feel. Do you feel that your emotions are having a detrimental impact on your life? Now, it's possible that your ability to cry at the drop of a hat is because there could be an emotional trigger, maybe some buried issues, and then that kind of just makes the waterworks flow. If you notice that you feel a huge sense of relief after a cry, this could be the case. I suggest that you do some soul searching and examine whether you feel you have healthy outlets for your emotions? Do you find it difficult to talk, write about, or express your feelings and thoughts? Do you have any life events that may have been difficult or traumatic that you haven't really processed or addressed? Is it hard maybe for you to find help or ask for help? Do you have any other symptoms of anxiety or depression? If you answered yes to any of these, then you might want to seek out help to process and move past some of those issues. But if you answered no, rock on. Accept who you are and know that you don't have to fit into anyone else's box. Just have a good cry and move on. You've got this. Thanks for tuning in to the Dr. Zoe Show. New shows go up on Tuesdays. Subscribe so you don't miss a show. And if you're interested in coaching or therapy, or you just want to get a little more help, go to my website at drzoeshaw.com or any of my social medias at the handle Dr. Zoe Shaw. Join my free newsletter by texting the word join to 38470. I send out now bi-week or twice a week newsletters notifying you of my podcast and then my Sunday inspirational to help you kind of get through the week. So I look forward to speaking with you wonderful ladies on social media throughout the week. Have a super week.
You've been listening to The Dr. Zoe Show, redefining your Superwoman, with your host, Dr. Zoe Shaw. Don't forget to sign up for her monthly newsletters to get encouragement, tips, and skills for keeping your mind in the Superwoman game. Connect with her now at www.drzoeshaw.com. Tell your friends and subscribe to her podcast on iTunes. Join us next time for another edition of The Dr. Zoe Show.